Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back. Now, some of you have been asking me about the new Ultraman series on Netflix that came out a couple weeks ago, so I wanted to give some thoughts on that. So I will say there will be some spoilers in this, but hopefully not too much because I've only gotten about 3 episodes into the series so far, so I don't have too much in-depth spoilers that I'm going to be covering here. But I also wanted to talk about why I like this series so far, as well as the good that I think will come out of this series being on Netflix and the exposure that it could give Tokusatsu. But before I get into all that, let's just get right into a little bit of a premise here, and that is that this series is actually a sequel to the 1966 Tokusatsu series. Now, I don't think that it's in the same canon as far as the live action shows go, and the reason I say that is because this is a direct sequel to the 1966 series, and it kind of follows more of the premise that was laid out in the Japanese version of Ultraman. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, in the 1966 Ultraman series, at the end of the series when Ultraman leaves, he wipes Shin Hayata's memory. Now, Shin Hayata is the main character of the original Ultraman series. He's the guy that Ultraman merges with, and of course Shin Hayata then becomes Ultraman from that point on until Ultraman leaves and goes away, and he wipes his memory, and Shin Hayata has no memory of himself being Ultraman or anything like that. And that's pretty much it. Now, in the English dub of Ultraman, what happens is, at the very end, is that Shin Hayata says that he remembers everything that happened, but he also says, hey, Ultraman will be back someday. So he leaves it open for Ultraman's return. And I think Tsuburaya Productions went ahead and just went with that story. When they went ahead and did that in the dub, they just went along with that, because as you saw later on in some Ultraman series after the original one, Ultraman returned, and it was that Ultraman from the first series, you know, leading to the whole idea that Ultraman would be back. It was confirmed with that, so they went along with that. Now, in this series, though, at the very beginning, this is, like I said, a sequel to the 1966 series. Now, this series is based on a manga that came out, I believe, in 2017. I could be mistaken about that. I'm sure that I'll be corrected in the comment section below, or it might have been 2012. Again, I could be wrong about the date. But it's based off of that manga series, and that manga series, like I said, as well as this anime, of course, is a sequel to the 1966 series, because Shin Hayata is in this series, the original Ultraman, but he has no memory of previously being Ultraman. Now, he's much older in this series, so decades have passed, and he has a son, a very young son, that he had when he was already an older man. And the thing about it is that his son has apparently some superhuman abilities, and you come to find out that this is because when he was merged with Ultraman, it left kind of this, I guess, residual superhuman ability within him that he genetically passed on to his son. Now, during the course of, I believe, even the first episode, Shin Hayata does remember, something snaps, and he does remember that he was Ultraman. So that's something that does come back around full circle. He does remember that he's Ultraman. And like I said, the merging of him and Ultraman is what leads him to also still have some superhuman abilities left within himself, like superhuman strength and things like that. And again, like I said, those are passed on to his son. Now, as far as this series has gone so far, Ultraman is really, it's the suit that he gets and all that. It's a suit that I guess combines with the DNA already within him to amplify it, for him to do more things. And by him I mean his son Shinjiro, because he is actually the main character of this series. So Shinjiro, of course, is fighting aliens that apparently are outside of the treaty that was made with some other aliens or something like that, or as far as I can gather so far. Of course, I could be wrong about that. I might have to rewatch it, but that's more or less as far as I've seen thus far, and so far I'm liking it. I think it's a good series. I don't really care for the 3D animation. That's the only thing I probably have a gripe about, because I've never really liked 3D animation in anime. I like just the more classic style of anime, but it's fine. The story is good so far. It's solid. The action is good. But it's interesting. It's definitely piquing my interest, the whole idea that it is a sequel to the original Ultraman, which I like, even though one could argue that it hasn't aged well. I think that it's still fine. It's still good fun, and I would recommend anybody to watch the original Ultraman series if you haven't. If you can, of course, stand the fact that it's from 1966, but it's interesting. I like the way that they've followed kind of that story. And like I said, I don't believe that this is canon to the live-action Ultraman universe. I think this is just kind of a story that's separate from all that. But then again, I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line we could see a live action version of this Ultraman in the Tokusatsu show, and they could find some creative way to explain it. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Really looking forward to seeing more episodes of this series, seeing where it goes. Like I said, my overall reaction so far to it is generally positive. I think the action is good. Everything is paced pretty well so far, but again, I'm only 3 episodes in, so I don't know if that'll change, if there'll be some filler stuff that ends up being really boring. But I think this is a good series to kind of bridge the gap between the anime and Tokusatsu fandom. For those of you that only watch anime and have never seen Tokusatsu, you might want to consider watching this series, only because I think it'll serve as a decent introduction to why people like transforming heroes in live action. I think you'll kind of understand a little bit better, and it might pique your interest to kind of watch the live action Ultraman shows, or by extension maybe watch Kamen Rider or Super Sentai or whatever. So I think that's the good thing about this show being on Netflix, is that it's publicly available to anybody, obviously, that has Netflix, and it's not bad. And again, it'll give people kind of an idea of why people like transforming heroes in Tokusatsu in live action. So hopefully it'll serve that purpose of getting people interested. I'd like to know what you guys think of the Ultraman series if you've seen it so far. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's overrated? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion about it, and until next time, y'all know how it goes. The hunt continues.